Marketplace. Coming up, the International Monetary Fund urges the Bank of Ghana to scale back its intervention in the foreign exchange market and allow the city to trade more freely as the local currency posts notable gains. Plus, Star Oil consolidates position as market leader, overtaking Guel in new National Petroleum Authority data. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. All right, thanks for staying with us, everyone. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has urged the Bank of Ghana to scale back its interventions in the foreign exchange market and allow the city to trade more freely as the local currency posts notable gains. In his post-review statement, IMF Deputy Managing Director Boli urged the central bank to reduce its footprint in the foreign exchange market and allow for greater exchange rate flexibility. He also encouraged the adoption of a formal FX intervention policy framework to guide market operations and improve transparency. Let's discuss. I'm joined on Zoom by Head of Finance at Melbourne Capital, Nelson Kudjo-Kwaweji. Good afternoon to you. So what do you make of the IMF's call?
All right, thank you very much, Daniel, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners and viewers. Well, the IMF has not given details regarding the kind of intervention that the Bank of Ghana is actually doing. And so it will be very difficult at this moment to actually expatiate on the intervention that the IMF is presuming. However, generally, central banks do intervene in the FX market with the aim of either buying or selling the forex in order to influence the exchange rate of that particular country. And so they do this by basically trying to stabilize the local currency, also manage inflation and also promote economic growth. And so if the Bank of Ghana intends to actually, increases the value of the cedi or appreciate the value of the cedi, they do this by selling the forex to the market and also draining, the local currency from the system in order to tame down on inflation. And we have seen this in recent past. I mean, the Bank of Ghana has injected so much into the system in terms of forex, and they have also pulled out a lot of local currency from the economy.
Well, I mean, the central bank, the IMF rather, suggests a more flexible exchange rate regime. What are the potential risks of this advice by the IMF?
Well, I think Ghana generally, we have been practicing the floating exchange rate system, and so it is the market that actually determine the price of our local currency. And so to the extent that the IMF want the system to be a bit flexible, the risk is that it's going to provoke a lot of speculative activities within the market. And so artificial shortages may be created. People may end up hoarding dollars in order to increase the price of it. Don't forget, the dollar is a commodity that everybody wants to buy. And to the extent that market is the place where the price is determined, people may want to hoard that particular commodity, which is the dollar, in order to create artificial shortage and thereby increasing the price of the dollar.
We've seen the central bank receive some $367 million from the IMF after the review. What is going to be the impact of this disbursement on inflation, on interest rates, and investor sentiments in the short term?
All right. When you look at the component of a country's external reserve, it is made up of hard foreign currency, It is made up of gold, I mean physical gold, and it is also made up of other assets that international community can easily accept for trading. For instance, the special drawing right of the IMF, including remittances. And so to the extent that the remittance is coming in the form of forex, it is coming to shore up our international reserve. And once our international reserve is shored up, what it means is that we'll have enough forex to meet the demands of those who actually need the forex. And once that happens, the value of our Cedi will appreciate. And once the value of the Cedi appreciates, it means that when you go to the pump, the prices will be low. When you go to the shelves, the prices will be low. When you go to the market, the prices will be relatively low, and that will tame inflation. In terms of investor sentiment, any investor that wants to come into our economic jurisdiction may want to know if he can get easily forex in order to trade with. So investor sentiment, in fact, is one of the key indicators of confidence in an economy. And so if we are having the IMF cash and it's coming to shore up our reserve, I think it's going to increase investor confidence.
What role do remittances and gold exports, for instance, play in stabilizing the cedi, and can we rely on them in the long term?
Yes, so that has always been my position. These are commodities. For instance, gold. Gold is a commodity that we export. And to the extent that it is sold in the market, what it means is that the price volatility is always embedded or inbuilt. And so if the prices of gold decreases, what it means is that it's going to slow down the rate at which we want to build our reserve. And so from the immediate to medium term, I think, yes, we can rely on gold and other commodities to shore up our reserve in terms of export. For instance, if you look at the performance of gold as of today, the price has increased by 21.8%. And so once we keep on increasing the export volume of gold that we sell, technically we are going to increase our reserve. However, go into the long term, I think there should be a policy shift from relying more on traditional export of raw materials and commodities to a more value-added, competitive product that we can sell outside the jurisdiction to earn the forex that we want.
Yeah, today we are reporting on myjoyonline.com, the governor saying that the central bank has done its best or enough to preserve the value of the local currency. How should the Bank of Ghana balance monetary tightening with the need to support the economy post-IMF review?
All right. I think the Bank of Ghana has taken a very strict monetary position for some time now. Most of the macroeconomic indicators and fiscal economic indicators are actually coming down. In fact, I actually predicted inflation to hit single digit by September. And government has also started moving away from their contractionary fiscal policy to a more expansionary fiscal policy. Government has started making so much payment these days, even to contractors. And so we expect a lot more activity to be provoked within the economy in terms of construction and other related activities. To this end, I think it is time for Bank of Ghana to relook at its strict monetary stance to, as it were, go hand in hand with the fiscal shift that the government has currently adopted. In any case, their policy that they have implemented over this short period has yielded so many positive results, and I think the time has come for them to relook at their stance and, sort of merge their stance with that of the fiscal authorities so that the economy can continue to grow.
Thank you so much, Head of Finance at Melbourne Capital, Nelson Kudjo-Kwaweji. I appreciate your insights and perspective, as always. You're watching The Marketplace. Quick break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to The Marketplace. Another story we're watching for you. Indigenous oil marketing firm Star Oil has consolidated its position as industry leader in the sale of petroleum products in the country for the first 5 months of 2025. This was captured in the National Petroleum Authority Oil Marketing Company's performance statistics from January to May 2025, as seen by Joy Business. Joy Business editor George Affe joins me in studio with a breakdown of those figures. Good afternoon to you, George. So what do we have here?
So, Dara, what we have here is what they call the industry data. And this one wasn't put together by any individual company, but was put together by the National Petroleum Authority. They manage the industry. So what we have here is that Star, and as you introduced, an indigenous oil firm, ending May this year, sold 336 million liters of petroleum products, put petrol and diesel together for this first 5 months of the year. And Dara, you want to ask that in terms of consumption as well, you and I and others, we've consumed about 2.4 billion liters of petroleum products for the first 5 months of this year, according to data put together by the National Petroleum Authority. Why is this big news? Because in the past, we've had GWEL, another indigenous firm, controlling the industry. Star Oil had been consistent within 1 month, 2 months. Now it appears that per the data from NPA, they have consolidated their position in the industry, and they are now the leader when it comes to sale of petroleum products, Dara.
All right. Next slide.
Yeah. So if you look at, just a quick one as well, if you also look at the fact that, I mean, these are the direct employees that they have, and also for the service stations as well, 240 service stations across the country. So this is what the numbers for you show for Star in terms of petrol, diesel, and also LPG.
So they sold 193.9 million liters of petrol the first 5 months.
January to May.
All right. Diesel 139.3 million liters, LPG 3.1 liters. Okay.
So let's look at GWEL.
Well,
the leader who has been pushed down. Now look at the gap, Daryl. Just to go back a little bit, 193.939, and then look at the numbers for GWEL.
That's about 40 million liters.
That's quite huge, Daryl.
That's huge. So that's very huge.
Yeah. So just a quick one. Let's also give you the others as well, Daryl.
Diesel. Okay, turning to Vivo Energy. Right? Yeah. That's the next slide.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Petrol, 110 million liters. Diesel, 96 million
Are you
liters.
seeing the gap between Star Oil and even Vivo or Shell?
Yeah.
Let's go to Total Energy.
Total Energy.
See the gap again.
71 million liters. That's a huge, huge gap.
Also, let's go to another indigenous firm. That is Zen, Darrow.
Zen, 46 million liters. Wow.
The gap.
So what's working for Star Oil?
I think that they virtually have controlled the entire distribution chain, and it looks like consistency pays off.
How are they doing? Okay. Consistency?
Consistency, they are close to the distributors on the ground. They are offering certain favorable terms to these service stations. It appears that it is working. Let's see what happens end of year, Darryl.
Well, this is for the first 5 months of the year. So my next question was going to be whether this is sustainable or this is just too quick
Darryl,
to say.
we saw the trend last year and even the previous year. And this when I was having a discussion with a colleague in the newsroom when Star Oil started, we thought that, oh, this is just a flash in the pan. They are one of the few oil marketing companies that have been more sustainable, let me use that expression, when it comes to their growth. If you could stretch it even back to over the past 2 or 3 years. And it appears that they have gotten there. Whatever that they are doing, it is working, Darryl.
We've all known GWEL. I mean, for long, it's been the market leader. I'm wondering what is wrong with the way GWEL is operating now, and what would it take to gain back its dominance?
Maybe a lot of work, but also some will also say that working with state enterprises might be a factor.
It's a state enterprise.
There are instances where they've supplied products to state institutions and they've delayed in paying, compared to a private firm that they have put in place to ensure that that is paid back. All those things might be working against GWEL, and that is why they might be losing out in terms of being the top firm in the industry.
And
Darryl.
this potentially could contribute to price wars because they want to...
And it's actually happened, Darryl, if you look at what Star is doing right now. And even another player, Allied, that used to be also there, have also lost out as well.
Wow. Wow. Interesting developments in the fuel market. We'll keep watching. This is just the first 5 months of the year, so let's see what happens later on. If Star Oil is going to keep being at the top, or maybe GWEL will re-strategize and take over. Thank you so much. Joy Business editor George Affe. You're watching The Marketplace. When we come back, we're going to be talking tech. Why is the government holding back on the rollout of 5G? I've got an analyst waiting. Don't go anywhere. All right, Communications Minister Samuel Nati George has announced that the deadline for the rollout of 5G in Ghana is now the fourth quarter of this year. He made the announcement during the Q2 briefing of steps the ministry is taking to shape the digital economy in the country. I'm joined by Samuel Dowina, who is founder of Tech Focus 24. A good afternoon to you. So Ghana's nationwide shared 5G network model, is it realistic and sustainable approach considering the resistance from major telcos like MTN? You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Yeah, so Darrell, so exactly what you said. The minister, you know, the deadline was set sometime last year. The deadline was set at December by the former minister, and then this year the minister told us that the operator NGIC had told them they were going to roll out by June, and then June has passed, and now we are here. The minister is telling us the fourth quarter of this year. So Darrell, I think rolling out 5G and then particularly making it active for people like you and I to benefit is predicated on a number of factors, some of which are operational and some of them are regulatory. Okay, so even if the operator says we are going to launch in June, it's definitely going to depend heavily on whether these operational measures have been put in place, and then whether the regulatory hurdles have also been crossed. What are the operational hurdles I'm talking about? Number one, the operator needs to have rolled out their equipment. They need to have rolled out the towers. They need to have rolled out the base stations and everything. Per my understanding, the operator has brought in every equipment that they need to roll out. But then, once you roll out this equipment, you are going to need the various connecting entities, i.e. the telcos and ISPs, to connect, to be able to offer services to people like you and I. Now, if you roll it out and they are not connected, it means you are not going to be getting any service payments. But then once you roll out the equipment, the operator is now going to start paying bills to assemblies, are going to start paying power bills to power companies and all that. So it looks like there is no wisdom in rolling out without, first of all, ensuring that the connecting entities have got the licenses and then the clearance and then the guidelines from the regulator to then be able to go ahead. As I'm speaking to you today, all the connecting entities that we know are supposed to be cleared to then be able to connect. They don't have their clearance yet.
Wow.
We know that Airtel Tigo was given license sometime last year. But as I'm talking to you today, they have not even been given the clearance to be able to connect. In fact, even if they were given the clearance today, AT themselves need to have a new core network altogether, a new billing system altogether to be able to connect. ISPs don't have any guidelines. Telecel, the minister has said a lot that he has given the regulator the clearance to be able to give Telecel the connecting entity license. As I'm talking to you today, they don't have it. So even if the NGIC rolls out the equipment today, as to the retailers, i.e. the telcos and ISPs who can then connect to be able to offer you and I services, they are not ready. They don't even have the license. They don't even have the clearance to be able to connect. So It is one thing putting a deadline on the wholesaler to roll out. It is another thing getting the connecting entities to connect to be able to provide you and I services. So I think the deadline should be placed on the regulator or even the connecting entities to be able to do what they have to do. Even regarding the rolling out itself, there is a very key player in there, which are the telcos. Sorry, the towercos. Now the telcos themselves, they have got their own issues with the operator. Why? Because for a long time, people like Telecel and AT Ghana have been owing them billions. In fact, the minister told us that when he took over, a bill of about 1.5 billion was brought to him with respect to AT alone. So now the telcos are even hesitant to work with NGIC because they are afraid that this kind of piling on of bills will come all over again. All right, so So, and we are also faced with the challenge of the S&P in the market, the biggest player in the market, refusing to connect.
Right.
So really, deadline, yes, but if all these measures are not put in place to ensure that, 5G really goes live in June, the deadline will be there. But really, are we going to get 5G by the end of the quarter, the fourth quarter?
So what are the final question? What are the potential risks if we are not able to meet the Q4 2025 deadline again, despite the NCA's approval of core infrastructure?
The minister had given a clear warning. In fact, in his deadline, in announcing his deadline, he pointed out that the operator was given an exclusive license for 10 years. So he said that if they don't roll out, they are going to review the license and possibly they are going to look at bringing in other players. And it's sounding to me like, and I'm not saying that's the fact, but it's sounding to me like this whole thing is pushing towards coming back to what we call giving standalone licenses, where now individual telcos will be giving those licenses, and that for me looks like why and a big entity like MTN is not even connecting, because if they connect today, then of course we are sure that we are going to have some 5G, and again, like I said, look. NGIC can roll out. NGIC can roll. But if the connecting entities don't have licenses to connect, we are not going to have 5G at the end of the quarter, period.
All right. We'll continue this conversation. It's pretty interesting. I think that we just scratched the surface. But thank you so much, as Samuel Dowuna. He is a founder, Tech Focus 24. I appreciate your time on the marketplace. Sorry, we've run out of time. More news on our website, myjournline.com/business. The day's latest stories over there, myjournline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.